Tower comm check. Drone maintenance technician 49, hydro rig support. All Bubba ship systems are green. I got him. Hydro rigs are sucking seawater.
Stand by, mission coming online.
And we have tech contact.
Morning, boss.
Tower 49, this is Mission Control. How y'all doing this lovely morning?
Hey guys, what's happening? Nihat here with Film Comics Explained, and today we'll be taking a look at Oblivion, the 2013 post-apocalyptic sci-fi action film directed by Joseph Kosinski, starring Tom Cruise, Morgan Freeman, and Olga Koryalenko. Based on the unpublished graphic novel of the same name by Kosinski, the film follows Jack Harper, one of the last few drone repairmen stationed on a decaying Earth, who was part of a massive operation to extract vital resources after decades of war with a terrifying alien threat called scabs. Living in and patrolling the skies from thousands of feet above, his life is brought crashing down after he goes against his orders to rescue a stranger from a downed spacecraft, who forces him to question everything he thought he knew about his own existence. Kosinski, who was known for his computer-generated imagery work, had wanted to make a film adaptation to his unfinished script titled Oblivion. Working with Radical Comics, Joseph was able to continue working on the story by developing a series of images and continuing to refine the story over many years while he worked on commercials, including the outstanding Mad World commercial for Gears of War. The series of images and basic story was then used as a pitch kit to lure in interest for the film, and Walt Disney Pictures, which had produced Tron Legacy, Kosinski's first feature film, soon acquired the rights from Radical Comics in 2010, but ended up passing it on to Universal Studios, who kickstarted pre-production in the early months of 2011. Tom Cruise had long expressed interest in the film and officially committed to the project in May. Jessica Chastain, Olivia Wilde, Noomi Rapace, and Olga Koryalenko all auditioned for the lead opposite Cruise, with Chastain initially winning the role before dropping out to take part in Catherine Bigelow's fantastic action thriller film, Zero Dark 30. The role was then passed on to Koryalenko, who watched hundreds of astronaut training videos, as well as immersing herself in classic science fiction and romance films like Solaris, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Casablanca to get into the right headspace. Morgan Freeman, Andrea Riseborough, and Nikolai Coster-Waldau were then cast soon after, making up the rest of the supporting cast, along with Melissa Leo, who played the dual roles of Sally and the Tet.
Tower, our logs show you are missing an additional 9 fuel cells. Can you confirm?
Negative, mission. That number is 10. Drone 172 was lost last night.
Our job is to run those rigs. Your directive is to protect them. We cannot afford to lose another. Do you copy?
Copy.
Are you and Jack an effective team?
Damn right we are.
Set in the year 2077, 60 years after a war with extraterrestrials that devastated the planet, it's explained that a drone technician named Jack Harper and his partner Victoria were essentially the last people on Earth after it had been destroyed by aliens known as scavengers who sought Earth's precious resources. We're told that the scavs had destroyed the Earth's moon for material resources, which caused a series of natural disasters and global devastation prior to their invasion. In the ensuing war, humans were forced to use nuclear weapons, and though they had won the war, they had lost the planet, most of which was now believed to be a radioactive wasteland. The entire remaining human population is also explained as having moved to Titan, one of the moons of Saturn, with a select number inhabiting a large spaceship in orbit around the Earth called the Tet, serving as their mission control. But as the film progressed, we soon came to find that the information supplied to us through the film's protagonist was actually completely incorrect. The role of both Jack and Victoria was to essentially monitor the progress of the massive offshore rigs that drew up seawater and converted it into energy to power humanity's new home, and facilitate the maintenance of drones, which were spherical flying robots designed to detect and terminate any remaining scavs on Earth. Though both Jack and Victoria initially made an effective team, they were both completely different people, as while Victoria was content with continuing on with her daily objectives until they met up with the rest of the colony, Jack was inherently curious, collecting artifacts and reminders of mankind's history, and was visibly not eager to leave the planet that he loved. Unbeknownst to Vicar, he'd even built a beautiful lake house filled with memorabilia of humanity's past. Led by mission controller Sally and guided by Victoria, who handled communications and logistics, Jack, who was also known as Tech 49, regularly left their tower post to repair downed combat drones that guarded the massive generators against alien scavengers. And though his and Victoria's memories were explained as having been wiped to better help them focus on their objectives, Jack kept having recurring dreams and visions of a dark-haired woman that he felt was oddly familiar to him. Now, the pair are constantly given instructions and protocols to follow from the Tet, who approve or deny their requests, and continually reinforce the notion that they would be returning to the space station in a few weeks once their mission was over.
Well, the Hydra rigs are taking all the water.
Once we're gone, they'll have nothing but dust and radiation.
This is bullshit. We won the war. Now we have to leave.
After witnessing the crash of a pre-war spacecraft called the Odyssey, Jack soon arrived on the scene expecting to find aliens, and instead discovered humans that were in stasis chambers, one of which was the very woman from his dreams. While a drone immediately arrived and wiped out the other chambers, Jack was able to protect the woman before eventually getting captured by scavengers. Transported to the Scavs' headquarters at the Raven Rock Mountain Complex, Jack soon discovered the Scavs were actually humans that made up what was left of humanity. Their leader Malcolm, who had been watching Jack for some time, explained that he had sensed something different about him based on his hobby of collecting relics, something he had never seen in the other techs that was stationed there before him. Though he was unable to come to grips with this massive shock at first, his own exploration and the discovery of a clone of himself that carried out the same routine but in a different region led him to ultimately uncover the truth, which was that prior to the war, Jack Harper and a crew of 6 others had actually embarked on a mission to explore a massive spacecraft that ominously orbited the Earth. And as Jack and his crew got closer, the gravity of the massive craft was so strong that it pulled them in. Realizing that they had no way to escape its grip, Jack made a split-second decision to disengage the portion of the ship that contained the other 5 crew members. And while Jack succeeded with the portion containing the 5 other crew members floating freely into space, Jack and his commanding partner Victoria were forced on board the massive aircraft. Once inside the Tet, Jack and Victoria were then cloned and killed, while the Tet unleashed havoc on the Earth by destroying the moon. This in turn disrupted the tidal and tectonic balance of the planet, causing massive earthquakes and tsunamis that decimated much of the world's population. The Tet then sent out thousands of clones to Earth to set up giant machines that extracted energy from the oceans and powered both the spaceship and the cybernetic hive mind that made up the Tet. However, its plans were brought to a fiery end by the ingenuity of the Scavs, who rigged a communication device to control the Odyssey, which had been drifting in space for 60 years, making it crash land back on Earth and bringing the 49th clone of Jack Harper face to face with the original Jack's wife, Julia, who was the very woman that consistently haunted his dreams. Faced with the revelation that he and his other clones were actually responsible for much of the world's destruction, Jack 49 partners up with Malcolm and returns to the Tet, carrying fuel cells, and the two willingly sacrifice themselves for the sake of humanity, destroying the Tet and the link that it had to all of its technologies, including the generators and the drones that were still on Earth. Though Jack 49 perished in the explosion, Jack 52, another clone that had been previously incapacitated by Jack 49 during a scuffle, leads the remainder of the human resistance to the lake house 3 years later, using his shared memories with the other Jack, where he sees Julia once again, who is standing next to the child of Jack 49.
To Haleakala, a volcano in Maui, we set up 3 cameras that captured sky, cloud, sunrise, sunsets. Then we took that footage and we front projected it on a massive screen that surrounded the set. And what that allowed us to do is to not only capture it in camera, but use the reflected light of that footage to actually light the sets and the actors.
Filming for the project began on March of 2012 and went on for several months before wrapping up on July 14th of that year. Although the majority was filmed at numerous locations in the US, a portion was actually shot in Iceland during June, where the country experiences 24 hours of daylight, with Kaczynski wanting to take advantage of the waning light known as magic hour to bring sci-fi out into the daylight, in contrast to the other alien-related films which focused on darkness. Claudia Miranda, the Academy Award-winning cinematographer, known for his work on The Curious Case of Benjamin Button and Life of Pi, brought the best out of their locations to create a sleek yet haunting portrayal of a post-apocalyptic Earth on the brink of destruction. Kaczynski also followed the same route he did with Tron Legacy in his collaboration with the sensational electronic funk band Daft Punk by hiring M83 to work in conjunction with famed composer Joseph Trapanese to create a unique sound that captured the jaw-dropping visuals.
There's a couple different incarnations of the bubble ship. We have the complete bubble ship, and we have basically just the cockpit on a full motion-based gimbal. So we'll get all the flying footage, and then in visual effects, we will put the rest of the ship on the backside of that.
The bubble ship is a beautiful creation when it's just standing on the ground.
Personally, I really enjoyed the film, and my only issues with it was the extremely clunky plot lines that forced Morgan Freeman to act as an exposition drone, and the fact that Julia, though central to the story, had very little to do, which is a bit of a waste of both their talents. All in all, the film is a visual masterpiece that took full advantage of its IMAX format, and despite some problems with the story and pacing in certain segments, the meticulously crafted frames and outstanding performances from Cruise and the supporting cast helped deliver a solid cinematic experience. Well, that's all for today, folks. Thanks to all of you guys who requested we take a look at Oblivion. If there's any other stuff you'd like me to check out, please don't hesitate to ask. As always, it's been a pleasure. Nihat here with Film Comics Explained. Thanks for stopping by.
Coming up on location. Super Bowl.
Please don't tell me it was a classic.
Classic game. How about 4?
The ball was on the 50-yard line.
Just leaps out of the pack.
Touchdown.